Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are continuing our 7-round mock draft series, starting with the Denver Broncos. But before we get into their mock draft, Ryan and we have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. It's about a month and a half away, and last we checked, we are at 617 subscribers. We are getting really close. We are already up about 300 subscribers on the year so far, so we think we can make it. With your help, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and also leave a comment and let us know on what you think of the Denver Broncos draft. And Ryan, let's get into it. So the Broncos don't have a first-round pick for all reasons that we already know, and they don't have a second-round pick either. So we are going to be starting at pick 68. They have back-to-back picks, and they've already made some free agency moves. So we are recording this at March 16th. So we did this mock draft, I believe, Sunday, March 12th. So it might be a little bit of change, but that being said, though, I think actually there might be some things that we think should change, and we will talk about that. But that being said, though, they have addressed the offensive line by signing Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey right now. They also have addressed the defensive line and linebackers with Zach Allen and Alex Singleton. And as we'll get into it, I'll be kind of curious to hear what the viewers' thoughts are with if they should still go with these picks. But I actually still like our picks and the positional picks that we went with. So starting out at pick number 68, and one final thing, the software we used counted forfeited picks. So if the numbers are off a little bit on which draft pick it is, that's why. So at pick 68, the Denver Broncos select who, Ryan?
Matthew Bergeron, the offensive tackle from Syracuse. And look, I already know what you're going to say. They just signed 2 offensive linemen in free agency, and Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey. And my rebuttal to that is Matthew Bergeron is a little bit more of a left tackle, whereas Mike McGlinchey has really made his name and his money on the right side of the offensive line. And Ben Powers is that left guard position. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think Matthew Bergeron might not be a plug-and-play starter at that left tackle position, but I think halfway through the season, he should be developed enough to really be able to hold his own at that left side. Couple things. He is athletic, but he does get off balance every now and then, and just you're going to have to work on his hand placement and his ability to handle a true like NFL-level power rusher. If you can work on a couple of those things, which kind of go hand in hand, I think he's a starting left tackle at the NFL, and you're going to get him here at the top of the 3rd round. Yeah. And I think that's just really solid value.
Yeah. He's one, and that's one of the things they've made some of those signings, and I still think with this offensive line was very poor last year. They also have 4 offensive line members that I've at least read down. There could be more that are hitting the free agent market. And also Garrett Bowles has come back from a pretty gruesome broken leg injury as well. Yeah. So just adding depth and adding good talent to continue to kind of build that foundation around Russell Wilson and that offense, I think is going to be crucial. And same thing as well with their next pick at pick 69, immediately following. One of the other reasons why I feel more comfortable about taking tackle there is because then you do have another pick right after that. Yeah. And at that pick, we have defensive lineman out of Baylor, Saiki Ika. And they did, as we mentioned, just sign Zach Allen. But Zach Allen is 6'4", 285. Saiki Ika is not. He has 50 pounds on Zach Allen, and this is your nose tackle, Vince Wilfork-esque type guy of the future. And he's a run-stuffing guy out of Baylor. He can maybe develop a little bit in the passing game only just because of how big he is, but he's just going to clog up that center.
He actually has decent pass rushing upside. He's pretty athletic for being like 6'3", 345, whatever that is.
So, well, and that's where it's like just rebuilding this offensive line, trying to get some mass and speed at the same time. And with how few picks they have, only 5 picks, I think getting it in the trenches and solidifying the trenches, which is kind of what we're used to seeing out of the Broncos, is a really strong, powerful front defense and a good offensive line as well. The rest of the team just kind of works out and facilitates through. They need to get back to that. They were struggling with that, especially defensively. Actually, I take that back. They were really good. But they lost Draymond Jones in free agency, and I think then adding him compared with Zach Allen, 2 different types of defensive tackles, I think are a good addition.
Yeah, and kind of sticking with that front 7 theme, at their next pick at 109, this is a guy that I really liked at the Senior Bowl, and it's linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. out of Cincinnati. He's about 6'1", 230, but he comes downhill like a boulder. And I remember there was one rep at the Senior Bowl in the game. Ivan Pace Jr. was playing middle linebacker, and Osiris Torrance was on the other team, and they pulled him and kind of ran like an outside, I forget what you call a stretch play. And Ivan Pace Jr. just came downhill about 100 pounds lighter than Osiris Torrance and just put him on his ass. Yeah. And it was just so like it was so crazy to see. And then he has plays like that all over his tape. He comes downhill really well. He's not going to be the coverage linebacker that you really want, but he has the athleticism to develop into that. And so I think with some solid coaching, I think he's a really good pick here at 109.
Yeah. Yeah. And they did re-sign Alex Singleton. I also think that pairing him with Alex Singleton as well and the rest of this linebacking core, I think also it would just be at minimum providing good depth, and that's what you're trying to find here at the beginning of the fourth round. So moving on now to their fifth round pick, Kenny McIntosh, running back out of Georgia. They have signed Samaje P. Ryan. We obviously know about Javonte Williams, but he's coming off of a knee injury. So I think this is good value at this position. Kenny McIntosh shows a lot of promise coming from that UGA background as well, and I think he has some potential to contribute. Also can be kind of a change of pace back as well, coming in with I would say a decent bit of speed and the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield also.
Yeah, no, he was really impressive at the Senior Bowl. One of the things I really liked about him, especially being here at 141, was his toughness. He broke his hand the first practice at Senior Bowl and then missed that day, or the rest of that day, and then played days 2, 3, and in the game. And you got to admire that toughness, especially at the running back position. That's something that you're going to need. And I think they get a solid all-around running back here in round 5. So, and then lastly, the Broncos only have 5 picks in this draft, trading for Russell Wilson, and then Sean Payton eats into draft capital pretty quickly. So lastly, at pick 197, we had Jose Ramirez, the edge out of Eastern Michigan. I almost said Eastern Washington. Eastern Michigan. And he's outside linebacker, rotational edge rusher type. I think he's good depth. He'll be a special teams contributor in year 1, and maybe he could develop into a true situational pass rusher. So
and I haven't seen too many prospects at the combine from Eastern Michigan. So when I saw kind of his speed and athleticism, it kind of stuck out to me a little bit. Yeah. So I think getting him this late in the draft would be good value for this team. And at this point, they've already made a lot of the moves I think that they're going to be making in the offseason as well, because with free agency mainly only just because they have 5 picks, all of them in the 3rd round or later. So kind of tough to provide like day 1 starting value. And I kind of like what they've done so far. They've gotten some good pieces, as we mentioned, with the offensive line as well. So I hoping to be optimistic for the Broncos. It just all depends really if Russell Wilson can be the Russell Wilson we all thought he was before he came through. And I think that they're doing a good job giving him an opportunity, getting good offensive line pieces, building up the trenches, keeping that defense still a top 5 defense in the league. So it's going to be interesting, just to say the least, on how the Broncos do